Chapter 9: Authenticity and Facelessness. Who's the real phony here? Yours truly. Get to know J.D. Salinger, man of mystery. As a relatively established indie writer who has never so much as posted my photo online, I'm in a better position than most to sympathize and even empathize with J.D. Salinger of Catcher in the Rye fame. As mentioned earlier, I've never even owned a smartphone, and neither would have Salinger if such invasive, time-wasting contraptions had held sway in his heyday. What emerged from reports inside the lines of Salinger's legendary reclusiveness was a snapshot of, frankly, just another eccentric artistic genius who probably felt similar to his iconic protagonist Holden Caulfield, who said, "I was surrounded by phonies. They were coming in the goddamn window." Salinger was into certain controversial alternative medicine practices, such as urine therapy, and that was back in the day, preferred health menus to the terribly sad standard American diet, loathed the media with every fiber of his being, leaned toward the kinky with his love interests. You get the picture. The jury's still out on the scope and breadth of his erotic proclivities. And honestly, at this stage of global decadence when the worst perversions are rubbed in our collective faces daily, who really cares? What impresses me most about his biography isn't the talent or even the wild overnight success it engendered, but the fact that as his fame grew to demigod proportions, he cared less and less about it. Maybe other celebrities experience this kind of non-attachment, but rarely do they just drop below the radar of the world like an extraterrestrial submarine and stay there. As time went by, in fact, though he kept writing copiously, he simply stopped publishing. "There is a marvelous piece in not publishing," he told one lucky reporter in a rare interview. "Publishing is a terrible invasion of my privacy. I like to write. I love to write, but I write just for myself and my own pleasure." Elsewhere, Salinger admitted to an overabundance of literary inspiration, even as his publishing days came to an untimely end. "I'm up to my ears in unwritten words." Photos of Salinger are nearly as unfindable as his last manuscripts, though a handful of images have emerged over time. I'm confident he'd hate that. He seemed hell-bent on erasing personal history in an almost shamanic fashion. His journey was an inward one, not an outward one. More than most, he seemed to grok what we've been unpacking in these pages, namely, the revolutionary idea that the only way out is in. Many belonging to today's lost generation could learn from his example. Ignore anyone telling you exactly who you should be. Salinger's inwardness set him squarely against the current of a global culture spinning quickly into extravagant eddies of public narcissism with widespread access to online photography and eventually video approaching downstream. Over the decades of my own intentional inaccessibility, every now and then I've fielded a comment from a reader to this effect: "I find it hard to connect with you without being able to see your face." To which I've always wanted to, but never did, reply with something along these lines: "I totally understand. I'm sure the earliest readers of printed text in the post-Gutenberg era experienced a massive disconnect with only faceless authors to read." Occasionally, similar criticism has been altogether excessive, brutal even. "If you're not willing to show your face, you must have something to hide. I wish you were a more authentic person." Which brings me to my topic for this chapter: authenticity and facelessness. Authenticity has become a buzzword, to say nothing of cash cow, in certain spiritually oriented content creation circles, where one often, bizarrely, has the sense of receiving personalized instructions on how to be oneself. In the interest of full disclosure, let me make it clear that I'm very much aware I just devoted the greater part of the last chapter to the subject of authenticity in a number of related topics. But if I'm to be truly authentic right now, at the risk of exposing myself to further character assassination, I must confess that I tend to find anyone giving other people customized instructions on how to be authentic inauthentic. Again, as Salinger knew all too well, the majority are on a ship of fools sailing self consciously unconscious through the clown show of this matrix. They've forgotten the kind of worthwhile advice, if they ever knew it, expressed by the likes of French writer Albert Camus when he stated, "But above all, in order to be, never try to seem." Or, as American modernist Wallace Stevens phrased a similar notion, a bit more creatively, in one of my favorite poems, The Emperor of Ice Cream, "Let be finale of seem." Me, beyond general considerations relative to finding your genuine self by yourself and for yourself, I have no idea how to tell anyone else with any degree of specificity how to be authentic. That's like telling children who they should be, down to their career goals and marriage options when they grow up. Such facile judgment drips with hubris and isn't just worthless, it can be psychologically damaging. "We are all different," wrote Roy T. Bennett. "Don't judge, understand instead." Are you an insect or a person? I'm a contrarian by nature, so perhaps that makes me a bit judgmental. I prefer to think of this quality as discernment. Be that as it may, I'm naturally inclined to look at things from an unpopular perspective. In this respect, if none other, I'm like Clint Eastwood, as he portrayed himself in these words: "There's a rebel lying deep in my soul. Anytime anybody tells me the trend is such and such, I go the opposite direction. I hate the idea of trends. I hate imitation. I have a reverence for individuality." With this as context, I suggest that compared to anonymity, with its lack of social pressure fostering extraordinary personal freedom, people plastering their face all over the internet are far more likely to be phonies. These famous lines from T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock perfectly elucidate this dynamic. "And I have known the eyes already, known them all, the eyes that fix you in a formulated phrase, and when I am formulated, sprawling on a pen, when I am penned and wriggling on the wall, then how should I begin to spit out all the butt-ends of my days and ways, and how should I presume?" Oh, the irony. Today's online narcissists making viral videos touting the virtues of authenticity and how to embody them to the letter, often complete with long catechisms of specific do's and don'ts, remind one of plastic insects pinned and wriggling on the wall for inspection by the scrutiny of the public gaze. Gone is their liberty to be anything other than what they're assessed as being by the eyes, forever watching and judging. Their public identity is now pinned down and fixed by the formulated phrases used to describe it. Phrases that speak to the domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species of the insectoid under examination. Such people who fancy themselves so alive are, in a sense, dead to the world. This is especially sad given that, as Carl Jung sagely observed, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Meanwhile, to cite Virginia Woolf, a self that goes on changing is a self that goes on living. Becoming who you truly are, and in the process, being able to change again and again, it goes almost without saying at this point, are prerequisites for going beyond where you imagined you could go as you undertake your personal hero's journey and wade into the dark sea of awareness. I wonder if Gregor Samsa, living today, as he monstrously metamorphosed into a giant dung beetle before dying with a whimper and being unceremoniously disposed of, would regret posting all those stupid selfies online.